Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly and welcome everybody once again for another video of DIY investing. Every single day I find more reasons to be grateful than the day before. Every day I wake up and I see more opportunity inside of the crypto markets. I see more of you guys messaging me, telling me about how much you guys have been able to make recently over this recent crypto run, and it makes me extremely excited about what is coming in the longevity of crypto. With that being said, today we're going to be diving into some updated Ethereum technical analysis because Ethereum is showing an early market cycle fractal that is showing immense profit potential. Once you can learn to spot this fractal, not only are you going to be able to see it in Ethereum, but you're also going to be able to apply this exact same strategy to the rest of the crypto markets to find all of your favorite coins that are about to pump significantly over the next few months. The people that are following this chart pattern and are learning to invest based off of this analysis are going to set themselves up for some of the biggest financial returns that cryptocurrency has ever seen. Remember, if you are new and just finding this channel, always remember to do myself a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel. Make sure you guys click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. I also offer a video course and signals, so if you guys are actually looking to get behind a community that you can trust, as well as get access to some of my more exclusive content, you guys are definitely going to want to check out the Discord server. The signals are a mix of short-term, mid-term, and long-term trading and investing setups. It's a way for you guys to copy my personal portfolio and actually follow along with all of the trades that I'm taking over this next bull run. The course is 20 educational videos that teach you guys all of the same strategies that I use to profit inside of cryptocurrency. So if you're a new guy that actually wants to learn how to do analysis, wants to learn how to trade inside of these markets, I highly recommend that you guys check out that course because it'll really help you as far as being a profitable analyst. Now, the way to get access to all of this is to click the invitation link in the description of this video. Once you have access, make sure you guys just message me on here and I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible with all of the details. With all that being said, guys, I wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my amazing subscribers. Today is my birthday and I'm really excited to be able to share this one with you. Looking back on my last few birthdays, it's been a little bit challenging, and so for this one, I'm actually just really grateful that I have such a great community. I've got all of you guys supporting me, and it just really makes this time so much more enjoyable to be here with the crypto markets, and I'm just thankful to have you guys a part of this team. So let's make this next year even better. Thank you guys so much, and let's jump right into this video today. So here we are, everybody, taking a look at Ethereum on the dollar. Now, really the point of what this video is going to cover is the fact that this right here is an early chart pattern that shows significant profit potential, and that's everything that we're going to be covering in today's video. I'm going to be teaching you guys how this little market cycle here is about to equate to a massive parabolic bull run like we've just experienced. Now, a lot of people are very skeptical that we're ever going to see new all-time highs. A lot of people are extremely fearful with all of the uncertainty regarding the world and economic markets today, and that's exactly why now is the most perfect time for buying opportunities, because not only is crypto so undervalued compared to where it was at the top of the cycle, but not only that, but it is also at a point where there's a lot of fear in the market, there's a lot of uncertainty, stock markets are starting to kind of drop a little bit, and so I do believe that cryptocurrencies are going to be a really good investment opportunity right now, just because in consideration with the stock market, crypto is severely undervalued. Now, what we're going to talk about down here is this early market cycle that we're seeing, and we're actually going to be comparing it to the Bitcoin cycle, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys how this cycle is almost exactly the same. And then we're going to wrap it up by finishing and talking about how this cycle has played out in other cryptocurrencies and what I'm expecting as far as profit potential over the next couple of years for Ethereum. So let's drop it to a shorter time frame so that we can get a full understanding of what it is I'm expecting, because this, guys, is really awesome. You're not going to want to miss out on this. This is honestly one of the best chart patterns that I've found. Now, not only from a chart pattern perspective, it's less of a chart pattern perspective and more of fractal analysis. Now, one of the things that I like to use a lot when it comes to trading and investing is I use market cycles and I use fractal analysis inside of market cycles, because oftentimes they kind of coexist one and the same. Now, what we're going to talk about today is this early cycle that we saw in Ethereum. Now, what we saw here was the low of the bear market, which found Ethereum at about $80, and that was really the lowest point of that bear cycle. And then from that, this was the lows of December. We actually rallied up and we ended up peaking at about $360. And so from cycle low of about $80, we went all the way up to $360 at the cycle high. And then we fell back one more time to retest these lows, only this time we actually found a bottom of about 120 bucks. And so we didn't quite drop down all the way. Now, what this is showing is just an early cycle. We have a cycle low, we have short-term accumulation, we have the pickup where really the market starts to get parabolic, and then we have the blow off top. Now what follows is the short-term bear market correction, and then really this is just the first cycle. We have cycle low, cycle high, we find the bottom, and then we start the new impulse that takes us into price discovery. And this is the way that the cycles work. Now, what I wanted to point out is how this cycle here looks almost the same as what we saw in market structure with the Bitcoin cycle from 2016 all the way to 2018. And I'm going to break it down for you right now. Now, what we see here is roughly the same sort of a consolidation pattern. Now, what this is a descending triangle. And this is the same sort of setup that we saw actually inside of Bitcoin at the 6K support floor. So if you guys were here during the bear market, what I mean by that was actually when Bitcoin was right here. As you guys can see, we had the big cycle. We had the blow off top right here, and then we started this bearish trend. Now, what happened inside of Bitcoin was we actually got this descending triangle, which is a bearish continuation setup. And we can see that basically the way that we classify a descending triangle is you have a horizontal support and then you have a descending resistance. And so we can see lower highs on this horizontal support until finally the liquidity dries up and then we sell through for one more low. And we can see that this pattern is almost the same as what is taking place in Ethereum today. And we can see that here. We had the cycle blow off top. We started this bear trend. We sold off for one low. At that first sell-off, we consolidated here at horizontal support. Eventually liquidity dried up, and then we sold off for one more low. And so this is the same sort of cycle that we're seeing. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out isn't necessarily because I think that they're 100% correlated and they're exact, but the reason why I'm pointing this pattern out for you guys is just to show that what we saw here from capitulation and what we've seen over the last year inside of Ethereum's consolidation is not a consolidation that shows us going to new lows, but it's actually a consolidation that shows that we are very close to entering this new bull cycle. Now, what I wanted to go through here is we're going to actually apply how the cycles of Bitcoin and Ethereum are correlated. Now, obviously, the cycle low goes a lot farther. Now, obviously, the cycle low is a lot lower than on the Ethereum chart, and this cycle was a lot bigger, but this is still a market cycle nonetheless. Now, just because the market cycle doesn't go from $200 to $20,000, and we see something much smaller of $80 to $360, this is just one of the first market cycles, and this is what happens in the earliest points of trends. Whenever we have a big bearish consolidation, we have this big long bear market correction that we saw here. When we have those and we do find the bottom of that, we have to go through a short-term equilibrium point. Now, what I mean by that is when you've had such a long bearish correction, eventually the sellers have to die out and eventually the bulls have to take over. When that happens, you see this pattern play out. Now, the way it works is you have the cycle low, and then you start a short-term impulse. Now, obviously, if we zoom this out, it's not going to look like this impulse was very big on the grand scheme of things. Looking at this was a very small impulse, and for most people, it would very easily look like we could go lower still. But the reason why we're actually bullish is because of this equilibrium. Now, we sold off about 94%, and then we made our first impulse. Now, the only way that this would have been bearish, in my opinion, would have been if we actually sold through support here. Now, technically, we've maintained a higher high. We had a cycle low, we had the cycle high, we came back down, and then we held support above the previous cycle low, which is a confirmed higher high. Now, the fact that we're actually impulsing with a significant majority of buy volume after these lows leads me to believe that this is a very early cycle, and this is what we're seeing currently. Now, this right here is just an early cycle, right? Now, what's interesting to me is just how closely it follows Bitcoin, not only from a technical perspective, because we can look at this chart and we can say, okay, yeah, we had roughly the same sort of consolidation. We had a little bit of a buildup, we had a blow off top, and then we kind of consolidated in this descending triangle, made one more low, and then that started the impulse. But not only that, but we can break it down to exact Fibonacci equations and relationships. From the cycle high to the cycle low, we can see that this recent impulse that we had went straight to this 618 Fibonacci. And I'm going to drag it over here so it's a little bit easier to see. This 618 Fibonacci ratio is the golden ratio of Fibonacci. And basically what that means is that each one of these numbers that is not the 618 is divisible by this number. And in fact, the 618 is actually the average of every one of these other numbers on this Fibonacci chart. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because we impulse straight to the 618. This is what you want to see in some of the most bullish markets. Now, in an impulse out of a correction, you want to see us impulse to the 618, or in the case of a longer term correction, let's go take a look at Bitcoin, for example, you want to see sort of the same thing take place. Now, what we saw inside of Bitcoin from the cycle high to the cycle low, we saw an immediate impulse back to this 618 level, and that's the exact top that we saw inside of that consolidation. Now, what Bitcoin is doing is it's really just making its first leg up before we go into price discovery, and that's what's taking place here. Now, looking at Ethereum, we're literally doing the exact same thing, it's just on a smaller scale. We made the cycle low, we made our first market cycle, and from the bottom of that, we actually impulse straight to the 618. And so, if it's based off of my analysis, I actually think that we're going to see another short-term correction that's actually going to sweep these lows of about $195. And that's actually where I'm going to be targeting for the bottom of this correction inside of Ethereum. And the reason for that is because I actually expect that we're going to see almost the same sort of market structure that played out inside of the last Bitcoin cycle, because even though the cycles are different and there is differences between them, there is a lot of similarities, and it's really market cycles themselves that are going to oftentimes look almost the same every single cycle. It might be a new coin, it might look a little bit different, but the cycles stay relatively the same in comparison. And this is what we saw inside of Bitcoin. After we made our low, we impulsed to that 618 Fibonacci, and from there we had a short-term correction that took us almost directly to the cycle high, or it took us almost directly to the top of support at that descending triangle. And this is the exact same thing that we're seeing inside of Ethereum today. Cycle low, cycle high, we consolidate in this descending triangle, fell support, and then we bounce immediately to that 618. Now, for me, we're kind of in no man's land. If I drop it to a shorter time frame, we're going to be able to kind of see what I'm expecting to have happen on a little bit of a shorter basis. Now, what I see forming is the potential for an ABC correction. And this ABC correction, I think, is going to take us to about $195, give or take a few dollars. Now, what you need to see inside of an ABC correction is 5 impulse waves in the C leg. And to me, it looks more like we have had a 1, a 3, and now we need one more final 5-wave impulse to take us for one more low. And then from there, I do believe that we would actually start that new impulse, and we could see something very parabolic on the way up. And so that's what I'm expecting to play out here inside of Ethereum. I do believe that this one has a lot of potential to get pretty parabolic once we actually find support here. I do think that we'll get an immediate buyback. It might not quite be this parabolic, but it'll still be very quickly bought up, because it's my personal belief that this consolidation, this sideways action that we've been seeing here over the last year, is really the only sideways action that we're going to see for the most part. I think that from these lows at about $115 and this first impulse, this is really that first parabolic impulse that we're going to see. And it's this leg that's actually going to send us back above this 360 level. And it would be my guess that we're going to hit closer to about $470 before we start to see another short-term pullback. And so that's what I'm watching out for here inside of Ethereum. Now, we have one final thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up today's video, because this is honestly one of the most important parts that we're going to find. Now, not only does Ethereum in this early cycle look identical to Bitcoin, not only is it showing very bullish market structure, like we're about to see an immediate buyback very soon, but if we go through here, I'm going to actually compare this to a chart, and I'm going to be teaching you guys how this early market cycle compares in the grand scheme of things. Now, we're actually going to be taking a look at Stellar Lumens. This was the Stellar Lumens cycle from back in 2017. Then we had this major bull run from about spring into the summer, and then we had a big correction, and then we actually ended up making another major impulse. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about here inside of Stellar is the fact that Stellar Lumens is actually showing an almost identical market cycle as what is Ethereum is today. Now, what we see here is roughly the same. We have this takeoff period, and then we eventually go into price discovery, blow off top, and then we start this new bearish trend, right? Now, eventually we find support. This is like the capitulation of that bearish trend. We find support here, and then what this is a volume outbreak. Now, not only is that a volume outbreak, but it's also a fractal of a market cycle. And this is what you see at the terminal end of a correction. It's that equilibrium that I was actually talking to you guys about. Now, what that means is after a correction, whether it's a bullish correction or a bearish correction, you have to have a point where one side takes over, whether it's the bulls or the bears. Now, in this case, we had a bearish correction, and this is a point in which the bulls take over. We see this massive volume outbreak, and we see this little cycle here. Now, this cycle is really interesting because this is an exact fractal of the previous market cycle that we just saw inside of Stellar Lumens. We get a first little impulse, we sell off, almost fully retrace, we make another big impulse here, and that's the fractal. Now, not only that, but this is where it gets really cool here. We make a little leg up, we fully retrace, and then we make this impulse, and this is actually a little rising wedge formation before we start the new bearish decline, right? Now, what I really like about that pattern here, and the point that I'm trying to make here, is the fact that this is almost the exact same accumulation as what we saw way back in the early days. And this is what I talk about when I say market cycle fractals. If we go back to when Stellar Lumens was first added to the exchange, we do this exact same fractal. We make a leg up, fully retrace, and then we make another big impulse, and then this is really the rising wedge pattern before we fall, and then we start the new bearish trend back down, right? It's the same pattern that continues to repeat. Even this is a little bit of a bigger pattern of it. We get an impulse, we fully retrace, and then we go into a brand new market cycle, little rising wedge, and then we fall to new lows, right? Now, the reason I'm pointing this out for you guys is because this is what is going to happen at the bottom of a bearish trend. You're going to see these early market cycle fractals start to play out, and the reason for that is because this is just a smaller pattern of this. And so as more money enters this market, as this pattern exponentially increases, it makes the same pattern fractal just in a bigger scale. And we can see that that's been taking place since Stellar Lumens has been around forever. This is the same fractal. Impulse, fully retrace, rising wedge, fall to new lows. Impulse, fully retrace, impulse, rising wedge, fall to new lows. And we will repeat the exact same thing again. And I can almost guarantee that. At some point, we'll find the low, we'll make a big impulse. I have no idea how big it'll be, and then we'll go into new price discovery, and it'll be the same sort of thing again. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because this is what is going to take place at the bottom of the trend. The same thing that's taking place here in Ethereum. We can see that we had a big market cycle, we had a correction. Once we found this lower support, we had a massive volume outbreak, and this is the first cycle in this new trend. And that's what I'm trying to share with you guys, is the fact that if you go through here and apply this strategy and apply this plan to all of these altcoins across the market, you're going to be able to see this setup across the board. You're going to see early market cycles playing out at the bottom or the terminal end of a correction, and we're really just starting to see the next major impulses. And so if we take a look at Stellar Lumens here, this is what actually happened shortly after we had that market cycle down at these really low points. If you would have bought down here, which I actually did, I made 50x returns off of this exact trade. I bought down in here and I held, and this was a 50x return in this one move. And so this is the exact same thing that we're going to see inside of Ethereum. We're going to see a massive parabolic move coming, and it probably won't happen just as quick as this one did. It might need a little bit more time to kind of build up here throughout 2020, but we're seeing the same pattern play out. This is just on a much bigger trend. And so this is the video I had for you. I want to talk to you guys about how identical the Bitcoin cycle is, why the Bitcoin cycle and the Ethereum cycle are correlated in not only price, but we're seeing Fibonacci relationships, we're seeing volume outbreaks. We're also seeing how Stellar Lumens, one of the examples I used, how this exact pattern is played out in times past for insane profits. And this is an actual pattern that I have used to make profits in times past. So you guys are definitely going to want to check this out. Make sure you go back test these strategies. Go check it out across the board. You're going to be able to find this setup all over the place. But with all that being said, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. It's my birthday, so I got some things planned today. I'm going to go out and enjoy myself, so probably won't be in the Discord today. If you guys have any questions regarding the course or the signals, all you guys got to do is just message me, click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Once you have access, just shoot me a message, and I will get back to you guys most likely tomorrow. Now, with all that being said, I also wanted to say, if you found any value in this, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel. Click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.